Today I'm making the cheapest potato vodka recipe. We are going to use a cheeky trick to get real potato flavor for free. Blind taste test the final product against 3 commercial bottles to see how it does, and then tally up all of the costs to see exactly how much it cost me to make this bottle of potato vodka. I have a pot full of water, boiling and ready to go, which means it is time to reveal the secret of making the cheapest potato vodka I can possibly imagine. Here's a secret. Hold on. Doesn't look like much, I know, all in ragtag Ziploc bags out of the freezer. So over the last 6 months, literally any time we have cooked anything with potatoes that involved peeling them, I have dutifully given them a little rinse, popped them into a Ziploc bag and frozen them in a corner of the freezer where I wouldn't forget about them. Which means, like I said, this is free. It was gonna go to the chooks, or in the rubbish bin, or landfill, or the compost, or whatever. I'm just giving it a better home. And honestly, I think there's a little bit of interesting method to my madness here, because I know from doing a bunch of cooking with potatoes that a lot of the potato flavor, the flavor that we think of as potato, comes from the skins. So although I've only got the skins from about 20 odd kilos of potatoes here, I estimate, I think there's actually a buttload of flavor, like a good portion of the flavor from 20 kilos of potatoes is right here in the skins for free. So the plan now is to bring this back up to a simmer and then let it go for a good long time. How long? I don't know exactly. I'm gonna start with about half an hour. I just want the skins to start kind of breaking down a little bit and really get all of the flavor out of the skins into the liquid so we can make our wash and get this flavor into the bottle at the end of the video. Hopefully. So our potato skins are kind of broken down, semi-translucent, powdery, some may even say flaccid, and the aroma and taste is insanely potatoey. It's like potato concentrate, actually. I have 2 fermenters here, both of which are kind of semi-full. I'm going to get everything we need into them first and then come back and figure out total volume. So I'm gonna try and split roughly the liquid from this and the skins from this evenly into each bucket. But keep in mind that all of this is going into the same still in the end. So if one's a little bit different, doesn't really matter. So what we have now is kind of like a slightly warm, watered down, terrible potato soup. And what we haven't done is really create or convert any starch to sugar for the yeast to eat to create the alcohol. The reason I'm not going to even bother doing that is because potato is a terrible source of starch to make alcohol from. Potatoes are about 15 to 20% carbohydrates. So for the purpose of this, let's work on 17.5%. If we did a mash and we were able to convert 100% of that complex carbohydrate into simple sugar, and let's face it team, we won't be able to do that, not quite, we would end up with 525 grams of fermentable sugar. Let's talk cost, and this is going to vary depending on where you are, obviously, but sugar costs about $2 a kilo for us. Potatoes cost about $2 a kilo if you get the cheaper ones. Same price, wildly different, because this costs like $1.30. These, $6. Same amount of yeast food. So unless you can get potatoes for roughly 20 cents a kilo, the sugar's just cheaper. Obviously, it doesn't mean it's necessarily better. That's why we're putting potato skins into it. Is it gonna work? I don't know. We'll find out. Thankfully, my extensive research has let me discover a substance that is widely available pretty much anywhere in the world, full of sugar, and it's really freaking cheap. Exactly what we need for this. Hold on. Table sugar. I bet no one's surprised. But Jesse, that won't make a real vodka. Everyone knows vodka is made from potatoes. Well, legally that's just kind of not true. In America, the TTB allowed just about anything to be the primary sugar source. As long as it's distilled to 95% ABV, it's a vodka. The Russian version of the TTB, because I'll be real with you team, I'm not gonna try saying that, agree. Sugar can be used to make a vodka. And yes, I get it. Obviously, just because those organizations say you can, doesn't necessarily mean you should, and maybe your definitions are different. That's fine. I'm just saying we can make vodka with sugar. Would the traditional way be better? Potentially. I've done that in the past. You can check that video out. We're gonna aim for around about 20 liters in each bucket. And I want this to be somewhere in the 10-11% range. So we're probably looking for about 3.5 to 4 kilos of sugar per bucket. Honestly, I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Maybe aim a little bit on what I think is the low side, and then we can check with a alchemimeter. 1060's a little on the low side. Nothing a bit more sugar won't fix. 1080, however, that's right around where we want to be. 40 grams of yeast nutrient goes into each bucket along with 20 grams of Angel Red Label yeast, which means we're ready to ferment this at 33 degrees Celsius. It took about 4 days to ferment out dry, and here are the results. Guess what? Into the AM are having a dirty great big sale right now, up to 60% off site-wide, and the link in the description will get you a further 10%. So if you saw their new denim stuff in the last video I talked about Into the AM but didn't get any, now's a great time to do it. Any of their amazing graphic t-shirts I absolutely freaking love. And of course, let's not forget the still relatively new Chase the Craft Into the AM collaboration on the Absinthe t-shirt, which I absolutely freaking love. Here's Bear doing his thing, creating that t-shirt. You know how I feel about Into the AM by now, surely. I've been working with them forever. Great people, awesome products. If you want a solid discount on their website plus another 10% off, use that link down there. Have a blast. Both buckets fermented dry in 4 days. I left them for another 2 days to make sure they wouldn't go any lower and to sour just a touch for a little extra flavour. 1 bucket and 1/3 of the second fermenter's contents went into the still, put together in pot still mode for the stripping run. I collected low wines down to around 2% ABV. We want every drop we can get. So we emptied the still out after the stripping run, added the low wines, which are the distilled result of the stripping run, back into the pot, along with the rest of the wash, of course, filtered out the potato skins. We've got the still built with 3 plates and a packed column section as well to help us get a nice high ABV. The still's now warmed up, it's fractioned out, it's been running like this for about 10 minutes. And what I need to do now is start adjusting the power going into the pot at the bottom and the amount of water going into the reflux condenser at the top to start getting first drips coming off the spouts. When we first start running the still, we're going to want to keep the drip rate nice and slow so we can be more precise with our cuts. And the first thing we're going to collect is 4 shots. The stuff is never going to see the light of day in terms of being consumed. I like to use it for cleaning up all my stainless steel stuff and for lighting fires in the pizza oven. Do not drink this stuff. It ain't good for you and it tastes like ass. I've collected exactly this much 4 shots. I'm not too stressed about the exact amount I collect, just that I do. I'm going to collect a whole bunch of heads that I'm not going to collect anyway. So let me put this into my 4 shots container and we can talk about what the heads taste like. The early heads are going to try and trick you. They're going to smell almost good. They're going to be a little bit fruity, perhaps, probably a little bit floral, kind of like potpourri. Here's the thing, guys. I know we're trying to make a cheap vodka, and collecting more would make it cheaper. Don't let it fool you. The number one thing here is let's make something absolutely delicious that we're going to feel good after drinking. We don't want this stuff. So if you didn't catch it earlier on, the still that I'm using today is the Chase the Craft All-Rounder, available at chasethecraft.com. If you already have a still and you're already making vodka, you probably want to make something with that vodka. You can check out our botanical mixes and individual botanicals as well. And if you're watching this video and thinking we're kind of skipping over the nitty gritty in terms of the actual distilling technique, you're right. If you want the down and dirty geekery on how to actually drive this still, I've got a full tutorial on it. I'll put the link in the description below. I'm a little bit deeper into the heads now and the flavors change. We'll talk about that in a sec. But first, you'll notice that my cup has almost filled up. I like to, especially on runs that I don't often do, and I'm not exactly sure what they're going to taste like, I like to line these up so I can go back in time almost and assess them after they come off the still. Another pro tip, if you think you're going to get in trouble for taking all of your drinking glasses out into the shed, these things are absolutely awesome. Just make sure you wash them out first. About halfway through the heads, it's probably going to try and trick you again, because right now, doesn't have that potpourri smell. In fact, it smells super freaking clean. It also tastes pretty damn clean. Problem is, I know there's something else coming soon. Don't fall for this. Just wait a little bit longer. I promise you it's worth it. Here it is. This is what, yuck. This is what I knew was going to come. After you get that kind of fake clean flavor, in whiskey, quite often you'll get a burnt rubber, baby diaper kind of thing going on. For me, what it tastes like with Reflux when I'm making vodka is cement. I know that's weird. I don't mean I actually go out there and lick cement. But have you ever mixed cement in a wheelbarrow and been a little naughty and not worn a face mask? Do you remember that strange kind of sort of acrid, maybe a little bit spicy, bitter, like all of the mouthfeels rolled together at once, and it isn't a nice thing? That's what this tastes like to me now. But that's a good thing because we know the good stuff, the hearts, are coming really soon. About 5 minutes ago, I thought that we were getting pretty damn close to heart. So I switched to another jar to keep things separate, the good and the bad, if I was right. And tasting it again now, I'm almost certain I am. That kind of concretey, intense flavors disappeared. A little bit of body has showed up to make it a little smoother, more velvety on the tongue. It's also sweetened up a little bit, and I'm starting to taste some of that earthy potato flavor. All of those are really good indicators that we're into heart. Turns out I was right. We are in hearts. This is tasting delicious. Yum. Starting to get some of that potato action coming through, which is awesome. So I switched over to a larger pot, which just means I only have to worry about the still. I don't need to be in here switching out jars and keeping track of where they go and everything like that. And I've sped the still up just a little bit. I might even try and bump that speed up just a touch more, just so we're not here for like 24 hours straight. I kept distilling until I found tails. In this case, it kind of presented like that cement flavor again. I measured the ABV of the hearts and the volume and proofed it down to 40% ABV. Then I roped Phil and my wife into taste testing 4 different vodkas and ranking them from their least favorite on screen left to their most favorite on the right.
I don't know. I'm really torn between these two.
Would you be happy to buy a bottle of any of those vodkas?
These ones, yes.
This one tastes cheap. No, I got it now.
Mini bottle of Absolute. What if I told you that this bottle of vodka was cheaper than the mini bottle?
Which one is it?
All right, it's this one. That was mine.
That was yours?
Yeah.
The winner?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. And that was the second one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And the other two were, they came in plastic bottles, so that might tell you something.
Well, that's good that I actually was able to find them.
I have to question your taste a little bit because your second favorite one is, honestly, I don't know this vodka, but it comes in a plastic bottle, so you know.
What's wrong with the plastic bottle?
Oh, it's lucky because you chose mine and that's this one.
To choose yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was yours.
I'll get on to telling you exactly how much vodka I made and how much it costs, so you know how much it costs per bottle. But first, sorry babe, I gotta agree with Phil on this one. And honestly, these two are so far below the others in terms of my personal preference. I'm not even gonna bother talking about those. They were kind of red herrings to see if there is a difference in terms of vodka when you're tasting it blind. The Absolute's fine, but the potato vodka, in my mind, it's close, but also a significant step up. I know that's a really strange thing to say, but the difference between vodkas compared to, say, the difference between beer or whiskeys is much, much smaller, right? It is fuller, but in a slightly different way. It's kind of strangely like pasta watery. I know that's bizarre, but that's the closest thing I've got to a descriptor for you. It also has a very, very, very slight earthy savoriness to it. Like, it's there, but you have to go looking for it. And strangely enough, a interesting kind of almost tropical floral aroma as well, along with a slight little bit of, not green grass, more like hay. And all of those things make this interesting to me. Onto the costs. Adding up the total cost for all of the ingredients for the total recipe, we ended up with this in New Zealand dollars and this in USD. And I ended up making enough vodka to fill 6.6 700ml bottles, which means these are the totals per bottle. Elephant in the room. I did go off the track slightly when it came to the yeast and the yeast nutrient. You could switch the Angel Red label out for a baker's yeast, and you could ditch the nutrient and put some random stuff like tomato paste or whatever in. But for the cost of about 50 cents a bottle, you might save. I decided to err on the side of I'd rather this just works, because the sugar is the most expensive thing in the entire recipe, and it seems like a waste to cut costs on yeast and nutrient and then lose money on sugar not entirely fermenting. But of course, you do you. Save a little cash if you want to. Considering I made this entire bottle of vodka, which is better than this vodka, for less than it cost to buy this bottle of vodka, I think this video is a success. But let me know what you think, and let me know if the costing is going to be significantly different in your area, because it might be. Also, remember, if you want to check out the tutorial, check this video out. If you want to see another recipe, check this one out. See ya!